Hi everyone, Gary Coleshill here, and you certainly are in the right place if you want to save money on college funding. We're here today with Scott Rulon, our guest speaker, who knows a lot about this stuff. So grab a pen, grab some paper, make some notes. Scott is a CPA. He's the president of Rulon Financial in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's helped hundreds, maybe even thousands of students get the money necessary to help them pay for college. So good stuff indeed. And I'm going to hand you over right now to the capable Scott Rulon. So the floor is yours, Scott. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Gary. So happy you could be with me. I know a lot of you probably are just about to go on Christmas break as Christmas is running on, what is it? It's on Monday. Can you believe it came that fast? And we've got a whole new year coming up. And so those of you that are parents and those that of you are students, generally when you reach that freshman or sophomore year in high school, you're starting to think about where will I go to college? And so while I realize college is not for everybody, for those that it is a very expensive proposition today. So if you're going to go to let's say you're going to go to a state university. As I speak to you, I actually live in the state of Arizona, and we have, let's see, about four major universities here in Arizona. We have NAU, ASU, U of A, and Grand Canyon University. But all of them cost, including room and board and tuition, in the neighborhood of $32,000 to $34,000 a year. So for those of you that will just be getting through in school in about 4 years, you can talk about an investment of somewhere around $120,000 to $130,000. In fact, yesterday I was just talking to some parents who have a very smart young lady in their house who is a senior, and she's applying to another set of schools, which we call CSS profile schools. That stands for College Scholarship Service. And a lot of the profile schools, which are, can be schools like Notre Dame, like Colgate, like Harvard, like Yale. I was shocked to see that their tuition per year, including room and board, is guess how much, Gary? What do you think?
I don't know, 50 grand a year or something, I would think.
Try 83.
Oh, okay. I thought it was quite a high guess, but yeah. Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, we were just looking up a couple universities for their daughter. One was Northeastern, and that's in the city of Boston. And we're also looking up Northwestern and a couple others, and we found out $83,000 to go to those schools.
That's a big
That's
chunk of
just
change.
beyond belief these days. But the most important thing in starting your college financial journey is, guess what, Gary? What do you think they have to file?
I don't know. Tax returns, FISA forms.
Yeah, in fact, what we're talking about, and I'm on that page right now, it's the Federal Student Aid Form, also called FAFSA. And there are over 129 separate questions on the FAFSA form. If we're talking about the CSS profile form for those schools that are considered profile schools, there's over 300 questions on that one. And one of the things you got to remember, don't ever cheat on a FAFSA form or a CSS profile form, is guess what? That is fraud, and that is a criminal offense. And I will let you know that yes, the US government does check approximately somewhere between 1 and 2 out of every 10 FAFSA forms that are filed. So when you're providing information, you need to provide that information to the best of your knowledge, so you can get the amount of aid that is possible for you. So let's talk about one of the immediate sources of aid. Many of you will be looking at something called college loans. The most popular college loan I see, which is actually good for mom and dad because they don't have to co-sign on it, is called a Stafford loan. So that Stafford loan, for your freshman year, you can get $5,500. For your sophomore year, you can get $6,500. Or for your junior and senior year, you can get up to $7,500. And if you have to go for an extra year, you can actually get another $7,500. So the important thing here is to go to the FAFSA form. If you have any questions about that, you can certainly email me at scott.rulon29@gmail.com or give us a quick call at 602-824-2299 if you have any college questions regarding the loans. So let's get back to the loan area. This is always very interesting in that the Stafford loans will require you to file what is called a master promissory note. And that means that your son or daughter, or if it's you or your significant other that are going to college, you're going to have to go through about 45 minutes worth of education to learn what these are. Most loan payments, when do they begin? They begin 6 months after you get out of school. And so we were in a fortunate area not too long ago. I know my son was happy about it, that they put a moratorium on payments and college interest for a little while. That moratorium, by the way, went away right around October 1st of this year. So people have to start paying their college loans again. And so there are two kinds of college loans. There's one that's subsidized and one that is unsubsidized. So what they mean by subsidized is that while your son or daughter is going to college, there is no interest that is adding up into the account. If you have an unsubsidized loan, that means interest is accruing on account while your son or daughter is going to school. But in either instance, you don't have to start making your first payments until 6 months after you get out of college. And so if things considered to be the same as they are in the past, that will still be the case unless whoever our current president is puts another moratorium on loan forgiveness. So so for a certain period of time, there was some loan forgiveness that was taking place, but most of that is related to fields of public service. So if you are a doctor and you go to work in a rural city that doesn't have a doctor, sometimes you can get loan forgiveness there. Another way that a lot of kids get to go to college is if they have a parent in the military. There was something called the Montgomery GI Bill. And so while your mother or father was in the military, they could give you their military education benefits as long as they were serving. The other type of loan is actually called a Parent Plus loan. And you will notice that once your son or daughter gets to about, I would guess about their junior year in high school, you'll start getting all these wonderful applications in the mail from places like Discovery Card, from Wells Fargo Bank, from Sallie Mae. These are all for Parent Plus loans. And so a Parent Plus loan has to be co-signed on by the parents. And so for you parents out there, that means if your son or daughter doesn't sign on that loan or doesn't pay that loan, guess who's on the hook for it? You are. And unlike what we call the Stafford loan, These loans need to start being paid immediately. That's right. I've seen lots of parents who got into some significant trouble because they had not saved any money for college for their kids, and their kids had to go in and borrow it all. So so if we look at the Stafford loans, that's really only about 28,000 dollars worth. But if you consider that most colleges today, not counting junior colleges, cost between 32 and $34,000, that's not going to be enough to cover the cost of college. So for many of you, a great alternative might be going to community college or junior college. I know here in the state of Arizona, especially in Phoenix, we have a great community college system. We have Scottsdale Community College, Paradise Valley Community College, the Maricopa Community College system. And the nice thing is tuition at those these days are only about $4,000. I bet if you check with your local community colleges, you might find many of the same type programs there. And what I've also seen is, community college like here in Glendale where I live, Glendale Community Colleges actually has some four-year programs right now. And in case they don't have a four-year program, I've noticed that there is a lot of congruence between the classes you can take at your community college and those that you can take at your state college. So often those type of classes are transferable. So you may be able to get out a good portion of your tuition in the early years by taking as many classes as you can at the community college level. For a lot of you parents, you will notice that there are advanced placement classes at your high school, and I have known more than one student that took some of these advanced placement college classes during their junior, and senior year in high school, and they've already finished 1 or 2 years of their first years of college. So those are some really easy ways to cut down on the tuition. But let me tell you about the number one mistake I see in applying for college. It's actually not filling out your FAFSA form. If you don't fill out your FAFSA form, you can get no need-based aid and you can get no merit-based aid either. It is absolutely required. And if you are going to go to one of those profile schools, which there's about 200 of them in the US, the most popular profile schools, of course, are what are known as the Ivy League. So that's your Princeton, that's your Brown, that's your Harvard, that's your Yale, that's your Dartmouth. That's another way, but they all have to be filled out as well. So I bet the first question you're asking is, what kind of information do I need for the FAFSA form? Well, considering the FAFSA is 129 questions, there's a lot of information that they want. First type of information they'll need is they'll need mom and dad's name. They'll also need the W-2s for mom and dad. They will need a copy of the tax return for mom and dad. They will need to know all of the assets that mom and dad have. Now, there are a couple assets that don't count. So if mom and dad own a business and it has less than 100 employees, that doesn't count. You always want to make sure that you do not ever put your IRA, your individual retirement account, your 401k or 403b or 457 assets. Those are all qualified retirement plans. If you put those down in asset category, they can cost you thousands of dollars because you did it incorrectly. Now, there is always an opportunity to amend your FAFSA form, but if you do have to go in and do that, please expect to explain to your college counselor why you had to make the change. That is really important. The only kids that I really know that get to go to college for free are kids that are foster kids, or kids that are very, very smart and have gotten every scholarship in the book. Or if you're a child that is an independent and divorced themselves basically from their parent. We get the question time after time after time, how do I declare my student as an independent? Well, having looked into that, that means your student really needs to receive zero financial support from you. They have to have lived apart from you for at least 2 years and not relied on you for anything. Another interesting part about filling out the FAFSA form, if your family makes $60,000 or less, you could potentially qualify for what we call a Pell Grant. So here's the interesting thing about a grant. A grant is free money. Did you hear that? Free money. That's money that never has to be paid back. And you can get that for 4 years. Another way to help pay for college is actually really by filing your tax return. So on your tax return, there are a couple different tax credits there. And those tax credits are as follows. The American Opportunity Credit, which is good for a tax credit of up to $2,500. Or the Lifetime Learning Credit, which is good for a credit up to $2,000. What we usually have people do if you're a student and your mom and dad makes too much money to take these credits, usually what we will do is we will have the student file their own tax return so they can get the credits. So how do you like the idea of almost tax-free, the government paying you through these tax credits? So I don't know about you, but having these type of government tax scholarships is a great thing. You'll also notice that if you are let's say you are an adult and you want to go to college and you work for a larger corporation, a lot of those corporations will actually pay for your college. There is a type of fringe benefit that will pay, I believe today, up to $5,000 in college tuition per year. I mean, that's a great deal as well. One of the things that I do want all of you parents to encourage your students to sign up for is there is a website. This website is called FastWeb. FastWeb is a free site. It will probably take your son or daughter 30 to 45 minutes to fill out the forms on FastWeb. But once they've done that, FastWeb will actually send you potential scholarships for your son or daughter. Now realize that there are a lot of scholarships out there. There may be $500 or $1,000. The ones that are really big, like the National Space Foundation Scholarship, which by the way is 10 grand, is very competitive. Although I have had one of my students actually win the National Space Scholarships. So she got to go down to Florida, down by Cape Canaveral, and they give away 10 of those a year. And so she and her mom went down there to receive that. There are certainly other sources of scholarships. I usually recommend like Rotary, that's a business people's organization, or the Elks Foundation gives away a lot of scholarships. Or there are even some life insurance companies. Yes, that's what I said, some life insurance companies that give away scholarships. And a lot of times what you have to do to qualify for those up front is just to apply for a small, like a $10,000 life insurance policy, which may cost you like $125. But if you have a community-minded child and they have good grades, one of these companies, which I'm not going to give you the name for today, well, actually provides over 100 scholarships for kids. And those scholarships range between $4,000 and $6,000 per year. There's another company called Foresters, who's a life insurance company. They give away scholarships of up to $7,000. So the thing is, scholarships are wonderful, but I will tell you only probably 3% of the people actually receive them. I will tell you far and above, most of the money for college actually comes from the colleges themselves. So when you apply for college, you want to make sure that the college you're applying to has some money. And so I'm not talking about loan money. I'm talking about real cash dollars that the colleges have to provide. So remember those things called profile schools? They tend to have a lot more money. So if your son or daughter has the grades and the test scores to get into those can be a fine opportunity, and you can actually end up paying less for profile school than you would for a state school. So right now I want every one of you to get your pens and pencils out and get a piece of paper, because I'm going to tell you the most important formula that you need in all of college. So on the first line, I want you to write cost of attendance. The second line, I want you to write EFC, expected family contribution. And on the third line, I want you to write down family need. Now, on the new FAFSA forms, they have changed the name of EFC to something called SAI. It's a like Student Activity Index, but it is essentially just the same number. And so that expected family contribution, that's the money that you and your parents will absolutely have to provide for your college funding. But the more interesting number is the number down there below, family need. What you really want to know is from each college, how much of that family need can they provide? So many of the state schools, I'm sorry to say, do not provide very much in the way of family need. But when you're starting to look at some of those profile schools like your Harvards, your Yales, your Colgates, your USC, your Notre Dames, they tend to provide a lot more. There's even a school down in Georgia, many of you have heard it, called Emory, one in New Orleans called Tulane. They provide a significant portion of that family need for your son or daughter. So, number one thing here, remember to fill out your FAFSA form. If you have a kid that is rather smart, has good grades, can get some good test scores. And when I'm talking about great test scores, generally I'm talking about scoring 1,500 or above on your SAT or above 30 on your ACT. So really important to have those in line. So this today ought to give you a pretty good introduction on types of things in college aid you have for going to college. If you have any further questions, you could certainly send them to scott.rulon29@gmail.com, or just give me a call at 602-824-2299. Or I'm sure Gary's already got his name and phone number and email up in the chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I've got
you can
yours.
call, yeah, so you can call either one of us to get started. So generally, for those that you want to know, I usually do an initial consultation with somebody for this for $150. And then if you decide to go further and go full bore with the program that we've put together, help you pick out the right college, to find the right types of aid, to help you with your college essay. Now, we won't write your college essay for you, but we will certainly help you improve it so it is the right thing when the college aid officials give it to you. So that program is definitely more than that. That program usually takes place over 1 or 2 years. We do help you with your FAFSA and CSS profile as part of it, but we certainly do help you get your finances and your financial house in order so you can qualify for the largest amount of aid possible. Now, for some of you out there, your parents may make too much money for this. So the game at that point is really more about, it's about for paying for college in the most tax efficient fashion. So we can certainly show you how to do that as well. So Gary, I would like to take the next few minutes, open it up for some questions. And so anybody have any questions? Maybe Gary, you can start them off by asking the first question.
Well, my question would be, actually, I'm looking at your screen here, your PowerPoint, and it's mentioning in several places that about December. Is there a deadline now that needs to be met pretty quickly? I mean, is there where are we here? The form will be
Well,
available in December 2023, which
yeah,
obviously
so for
now.
the for
What are we
next
looking at?
year, for the next year college, the 2024 to 2025 FAFSA form will be available in December. In fact, if you look up here, it looks like it's about there. So it
Yeah.
used to be, the deadline used to be October 1st, and then you had to get it in. If you got it in by June, I'll tell you already you were too late. You really need to get it in as soon as you can in December or early January. Because I'll tell you, money that's given out by colleges usually goes pretty early in the process. So the earlier you get in to do it, the better off you are. So yeah.
So
So that the
doing
final
it now
deadline is,
would be a
yeah,
good idea.
now's the time,
Right.
really. So especially if you have a son or daughter that's a junior or even a senior, if you're a senior and you're not applying for colleges right now, you are missing the boat. Because now is really the time.
Okay. Should be the time that you have the spare time available too. I mean, the next week or so are going to be pretty quiet for most of us. So yeah, get those forms done now.
Yeah, and especially even with that thing called FastWeb that I talked to you about, that free scholarship site. You should never pay money um, to one of these sites unless they are giving you some real college counseling. So if they say pay us $39.95 and we'll have all your aid available, let me tell you, those are scam sites. When your son or daughter reaches, that junior or senior year, you'll start getting these things in addition to the college loan application from the National Association, the American Association of that. 9 times out of 10, these are all scam websites. It's really important to get somebody who knows what they're talking about. I know even here in the state of Arizona, Dan, Gary, you can go down to a couple of the public libraries here. Down in Phoenix, the Burton
I
Bar
thought
Public
I thought
Library
you were going to say you
actually,
can go down the pub.
yeah, they actually have a center there where you can do college funding. Now, that's really not for a lot of us. It's really for the people that will need a great deal of need-based aid. We did go down and visit there. We found it really wasn't for us, but certainly hire a person that's qualified, that's helped hundreds of kids go to college. That is really important. Yes, it will cost you some money. However, I can tell you almost unequivocally, for the fees that we do charge, you get paid somewhere between 10 and 20 times the amount of money that you've expended on us helping you with your college counseling journey.
Well, it's all about return on investment, isn't it? What
No,
would you?
absolutely. I mean, we had a young lady a couple of years ago. She got full tuition scholarship to Boston University, which at the time, room and board plus tuition cost $75,000 a year. This young lady has now recently been accepted to medical school. And the finest thing that I can receive sometimes is what they do is on graduation day, mom or dad takes a picture of their student in front of the universities and sends it to me.
That's very nice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's very nice. I mean, it's nice to see when those kids have gotten out and they've made their way through. So that's very exciting news.
excellent. Well, sounds good to me. What should people look for in a someone that will help them with college counselling? What qualifications would you be looking for? Obviously, experience is a real key thing. If they've done a lot of them, it's a bit like saying if you're going to have brain surgery, do you want a guy who's done it 100 times or one who's done it once or twice? But is there anything else to look for? Is there, say for example, they've somebody else tries to come to them and sell them their services. What makes them legit in your
Well,
book?
it's literally somebody that has experience in the area. As far as I know, there's no true certification for college planning, and many people help with different areas of that.
Right.
Um, but it should be somebody that's very conversant with financial planning, somebody that knows a lot about the past performed, because there's certain types of income and assets that you should not put in it, and there's other type of assets that you should have. And by the way, that's not the 529 plan. So if somebody just tried to sell you a 529 plan and they don't know anything else about college, just ask them if they know what SAI or EFC is. If they know what those are, you probably on the right track.
That's
So I
good.
mean,
Good
yeah, at
advice.
this point
Okay.
in my life, I was actually taught by a man named Ron Carruthers. He likes to call himself the godfather of college planning. But he's one of the people that actually started the industry. And so I trained with him for about 2 or 3 years. And you know what? If there's a question that I don't know, guess who I call?
Right.
I call the godfather. I show him some respect.
That's right.
And he can generally help me with the
One
stuff
day
I
he's going to ask you for
can't.
a favor, though. That's the problem.
Yes. And he's asked me for plenty over the years. So.
There you go. All right. Well, that sounds good. I appreciate your knowledge on the topic there. And I hope everybody got something out of it. I'm sure they did. Not a lot of questions here today, so you'll probably all think of questions after the fact. As you know by my somewhat constant postings in chat, there will be a survey coming up in the browser the minute that we end this. And when that does, make sure you fill it out, and it comes through to us automatically. And if you fill it out correctly with verifiable contact information, etc., it's got to be verifiable because trust me, we do verify it. We're kind of detail orientated. We will be verifying the details, but if it all checks out fine, then we'll be sending you a gift card over the next few days. So that's pretty much it. Also, on the short surveys, and it's pretty short, there is a box on there to ask you for comments. Feel free, if you think any questions afterwards, to put it in there, and we'll get back to you with an answer, just in case something pops in your heads afterwards, which often happens. And also gives you a list of topics that we do on different webinars. And if you check those, we'll be certain to send you invites out for them as well. So maybe we'll see you again. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Scott. And we're going to stop recording and end this right now.